really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
Woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
You hear me?
Me? Can I hear
Hello?
you?
Yeah, can you? No,
Yes.
I'm talking to the Lord. Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and the Lord.
All right, perfect. That's what you need. Fine.
Thank you. That's what I've been hoping for. Welcome to Unauthorized Opinions. We are on episode, who knows, 64, Eric?
65? I think you put in the title.
65.
Somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
well, let's see if we're demonetized yet. It's always something we can check out right away.
You can't say the word Rogan.
Oh, not demonetized just yet. It's it'll happen soon. Hopefully not. And we win like almost every single appeal, so it doesn't make any sense for them to do it right away. We are live on Getter, we're live on Twitter, we're live on YouTube, UOPod or unauthorizedopinions.com. You can go to either one to get the video feed. And of course, you might be listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts, Eric. But if you're listening on those, save for Spotify because it has video now, you wouldn't be able to see my sweet new B t-shirt that I got over the weekend.
Your cultural appropriation shirt?
I don't know. I think it's just support Eric Butler of TatumReport.com. I don't think I'm appropriating anything. I think I'm just supporting the culture.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, bro.
Nothing does. Nothing does anymore. How are you, young man?
Oh, living the dream. It's getting hot. It's hot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit nervous about that in the desert, but otherwise, no complaints. I don't know. I'm out of YouTube jail. I'm not in Instagram jail, so it's a good week on those fronts. That's for sure.
It's very hot here. It was boiling hot over the weekend. It's still the weekend, you might even say. Went to the mall yesterday.
What is 100 in Canada?
30 something, I think. It wasn't that hot. It was like 25 to 28. So probably like, I don't know, high 80s, low 90s. Still too much for me. The air conditioning's on. Went to the mall, got this great shirt. Went to this fancy vintage store that I like now. I got a nice, I think it's a Fila felt red zip up, as I will. So we're in this store and they sell all these old sneakers. They also sell Kanye stuff for like $400, his clothing line and stuff. It's interesting. They sell all these old Jordans and everything. $250, I think, is the lowest I've seen for a pair of shoes there, all the way up to like $1,500. These girls in here just grabbing these shoes, looking at them, putting it down next to them. They literally leave a pile of shoes on top of each other and then leave the store. We're talking thousands of dollars worth of shoes. Just outrage in the store of the disrespect of the sneakers. I don't know how they sleep at night. You're talking about how people can sleep at night. They shouldn't be able to if they're scuffing up exclusive Jordans. Eric, I don't know how you feel about this.
Did you you didn't get yourself any Yeezys? You didn't get any Yeezys?
No, they are there. But
maybe some Jordan 4s.
That much. They have Jordan everythings.
Well, but you though, which ones do you have?
I don't remember.
All right, okay,
I was wearing Jordans while I was there, though.
Which ones? Which Jordans?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just like the way they
right.
look. I'm not big on remembering names of things.
All right, fair enough. No shade.
And then we went to the toy store. My girlfriend loves those Funko Pop things. So we have 1 trillion of them now.
Oh yeah, that's her collection, not yours.
Totally not. She's just like, do you like that one? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'll buy it. I'm like, all right. Excuses.
Is that a Kanye Funko Pop?
I don't think so. I'm most proud of my Woody Harrelson from White Man Can't Jump Funko Pop is pretty amazing. That's pretty special.
All right, fair enough.
We're losing Eric. So we gotta get to the news topics.
Okay.
Joe Rogan. Finally, I guess he's changed his tune on Justin Trudeau, which I think most people have time ago, Eric. He's calling him, what is a creepy dictator or something?
I am actually not familiar with this story, but maybe I saw one clip about it. But I definitely trust Joe Rogan more than I trust Justin Trudeau if I had to pick between the two.
Wow. You trust a bigot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rate of taxation, but I always knew that Canada was really high. And
Why does it do this whenever we go in that mode?
you know, it used to be that Canada was high, but crime was lower than the United States. People were friendlier. It seems like a great system because you have socialized medicine. You have, you know, some sort of a healthcare system up there, although there's a lot of complaints about that as well. Your education system is, it seems like it's more accessible to people to go to college and things like that. So you're contributing into this pile, which is fine. But then when you have what's a creepy dictator for a prime minister, and that's what he is.
He is.
The way he behaves, the way he behaved during this thing, and just the disingenuous way that he communicated, it freaked me out because I never thought that guy was like that.
We had a conversation a few years ago where you were sort of more positive about
I thought
him.
he was a handsome fellow with a good vocabulary and seems like a nice guy. And you know, before he really leaned into the woke stuff, I just thought he was a kind, sensitive guy. And I was like, that's probably a good, you know, disposition to be a leader. But just the way he labeled those truckers as racist for no reason, the people that were protesting against mandates, he decided they were misogynists and racists.
Transphobic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, but the way he did it was just like, he just cast a pejorative label on them with no evidence, with there was no provocation. It was just like, I'm going to label them this so that then I can impose laws to stop them from doing what is essentially a peaceful protest against something
let me tell you.
I guess that's it. That's Godsod, I believe his name is. He's been on Rogan a few times. I don't know, Eric. I think it's safe to say that Rogan's more trusted and liked than Trudeau for a while now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and first of all, it's funny that I mean, that's them overplaying the hand, just like the Democrats do here. They overplay the hand. Like, you could have gotten away with it. Everybody would have thought you were a nice, compassionate bunch of people, but you got greedy, and now people can see you with what you're actually doing. It's like, dude, I take New York for instance. Can you hear me? I don't know. I feel like the sound kind of okay. Like living in New York, right? Of course, it was corrupt. It was a single party Democratic rule. They could do whatever they want. The tax dollars were getting, you know, filtered through every bureaucratic pocket in the entire city, and they still had everybody right where they wanted them, but they just couldn't let it go. So they hopped over the line, and now people are like, "Whoa, these people are absolutely insane." And it's also funny that he brings up the healthcare system, because I don't know if you heard that Bernie is now trotting out his Medicare for all thing again, because it was such a winner in the past. And we all know how great the government does with the public schools and the DMV, and they're just so good at everything. Why not completely do away with private healthcare and let the government take care of it all? So I like Joe Rogan, but it's clear him and Dave Portnoy, actually, because these are the little things that prove to me that they're not really political. They're just common sense guys for the most part. Like Portnoy saying, "Oh, well, of course a woman should have a right to choose." All right, fine, bro, but I still think you're looking at this from a very surface level. Just like Joe Rogan was like, "Oh, well, he's a handsome guy." That's very surface level. And when you actually have to listen to these people speak, you have to listen to people like Bernie and Liz Warren and Justin Trudeau, you realize, especially post Rona lockdowns, how absolutely maniacal they really are. So they brought this on themselves. They played themselves.
As long as Ukraine gets to double check what the healthcare dollars will go towards, and they can say, okay, that's fine, then I think we can start looking at healthcare, as long as Ukraine approves. Have you seen that Elad had more footage from another protest in New York with Ukraine? They're now having signs that says Azov is not Nazis; they're actually patriots. And like, again, like you have people who are saying, well, you know, it's for some reason they're saying it's a necessary evil to have fighting for them. and then they have to take it too far and then go out and defend them, as if nobody can look up anything for themselves. The internet just started in January. Every year it gets wiped and we restart in January. Nobody can go back and look like 2 years ago. Even when it first started, they kicked some guy out, like I've mentioned before, not because he was a neo-Nazi, but because he condemned their looting of places after they attacked them. So it gets better and better as time goes on, and you can't help but think, where are the people? Like how much obvious does it have to be for people to say or do anything? But I guess it's sort of changing because Jagmeet Singh, who is our resident far leftist, basically he would be in Bernie and AOC's party if he was in the US. He's a leader of a political party here, the New Democratic Party.
Sounds awful.
He got heckled. It is basically like the Labour Party in the UK, like basically communists. But he's a champagne socialist, rich Sikh guy. He got booed in like this small, not too small of a town, like 100,000 people, Peterborough, it's called, about an hour or two east of me. And he's getting booed. He's getting heckled. People are giving him the finger. They're swearing at him. And now they're trying to make this whole thing. There's no place for this in politics. This is a dark side. And of course, it's conservatives' fault. And this is what we didn't want. And it's like, they can literally do anything. They can lock you down, take away your jobs, call you Nazis. So they can call you Nazis for standing up for your rights. And then you swearing at the guy. Nobody touched him. They allowed him to get into his car. Then people started flipping him the bird and yelling at him. Nobody even banged on the window. They just gave him the finger through the window. And that's too far. He has literally called the protest, not even the trucker protest, but like the summer before that, just the people literally doing freedom protests to get their rights back. He called them white supremacists. So he can say anything he wants to them, but being mean to him is going too far. It's just like, you can say anything you want about Russia, but pointing out that Ukraine has neo-Nazis, that's too far. There's patriots. like where else would you be able to get away with calling neo-Nazi patriots? Like that's some real, I don't know, unite the right stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what they do. This is what we've seen from them over and over again, right? We constantly talk about the hypocrisy, but the hypocrisy, of course, is the point, right? Because that lets you know that, look, these are the standards, bro. Like they don't even really try to hide it anymore. Like with these people, these protesters going to protesting outside of the homes of Supreme Court justices. We all know that if one or two conservatives was outside of the house of Sotomayor because of gun rights or something, hypothetically, that would be just a bridge too far. They would be arrested. They would be smeared. There would be nonstop news articles, hit pieces, segments all over the place. But this is their signal that we are totally in a different class. We can say whatever we want. We can do whatever you want. If you even think about voicing your opposition to this, we're just going to call you a domestic terrorist. And we see that with the mass casualty incidents that always happen. If it's a black guy in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, it might get half a day of coverage. But if it's a white person, we're going to hear about that. We're going to mark the anniversaries 10 years, 10 years down. We're going to build a statue of one of the victims. And thoughts and prayers for sure. I'm not trying to knock anybody. That's obviously a very sad situation, but it's just crazy how much time the media will spend when it fits their narrative, to the point that, I mean, we can all see it now. Literally, we can all see it. They bank on a handful of, extremely low IQ people, maybe in Williamsburg or San Francisco. They bank on those very same people who bought every lie, from Covington to Russia to P-tapes to, just the list goes on. Jussie. They are hoping that those same people will not recognize a pattern. They wish dearly that the internet did not last, more than 48 hours. So you should not be able to see what we were saying a year ago. Same thing with the shots, right? I mean, we remember when we have 4K video of Kamala Harris and Andrew Cuomo and all these Democrats saying, well, even Joe Biden, I wouldn't trust a shot that came from President Trump. Who's going to take that? Nobody's going to believe it. Fast forward 3 or 4 months to Joe Biden being president, and they just pretend it doesn't exist. And you are an evil right-wing bigot if you don't want to get the shot, even though 4 to 5 months ago you said the exact same thing, proving that it's all political. We even have guys like David Hogg who say, well, I know that the mask mandate is over, but I don't want people to mistake me for a Republican. It's like, I thought this wasn't political at all, but obviously we all know it's been political from the very start. But I said all that to say the hypocrisy is the point that allows them to let us know that we can literally do whatever we want. We're not gonna field any questions. We're gonna say circle back, and now we've got this black lesbian who's taking Jen Psaki's place. So do you know how many layers of protection that gives them? I mean,
And she calls everybody racist all the time.
and for years she's been doing that, right? Since before Trump, I believe. Like, there's some old video of her from 2015 or 2016, just literally just calling just throwing it at the wall on MSNBC, which of course now Psaki's going to work for.
Mhm.
So it's a very disgusting, incestuous swamp mess that we have here.
Eric Butler is Report and Opine on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find him on the Tatum Report. Your reels there, young man, are exploding in popularity. Everyone wants to see Eric Butler complain about something, myself included.
Yeah, you know what happened though?
What's that?
What? Well,
I was just gonna say my videos are about like complaining about Perrier and people going on Twitter rants. You actually tackle real issues. We're just two different people,
Well, I think what happened is a couple of weeks ago I was just triggered and I made a reel, a 1-minute clip, and it actually was banned from Instagram. They took it
That's good.
down. They took it down, but something happened. I challenged it, as you are you are accustomed to doing on the YouTubes. I challenged it. It got reinstated and just completely blew up. Like, I don't know. I think
Maybe
a couple
once-
of big
maybe
accounts
once a-
reposted it.
Oh, I was gonna say maybe once you win something, they're just like, okay, we can't shadow ban this. I don't know. I got rejected for verification on Twitter for the 7th time on Friday. I'm still counting every time. Everybody else at my company is verified, which is like,
Is
it doesn't
Lewis
make any
verified?
sense. Lewis is verified. We had one of our writers, I won't out him, but he was verified when he had like 500 followers. So I'm every day is pain for me, and every day when I lose Instagram followers, it's painful. But follow me on Instagram at Andrew Does, and make sure if you don't you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do that right now. uopod.com, unauthorizedopinions.com. Eric, you sent me this article about a bill allowing preteen vaccines without parental consent in California. Now you guys are probably sitting there being like, "Wow, California, so cray." However, Canada has beaten you by like a year. They had 12 and up in Canada for over, I think, since last June. You can get a vaccine without parental consent. They had a pop-up vaccine clinic, and none of what I'm saying is untrue. You can look it up. They had it at City Hall with ice cream trucks and balloons for children to come get vaccinated. That is a
I
fact.
do vaguely remember you mentioning
more
that.
than once. More than once they've done it. Sick people up here in Canada. These sick Canadian bastards. I'm not one. Don't believe me. But we can read about it a bit more. But I'm just here to tell you that it already exists here and has for some time. I thought it was Senate Bill 666 for a second. Wouldn't that mean something? We're gonna have to look up what Senate Bill 666 was. Let me just copy that for a moment from now. Scott Wiener passed the Senate by a 21-7 vote. So that had to have been Republicans too, no? Or is that just the California Senate? State Senate, yeah, okay.
I don't even know. There's probably
Yes.
no Republicans within miles of
Right.
California.
12 to 17 cannot be vaccinated with permission from their parents or guardians unless the vaccine is specifically to prevent an STD, which is still also weird. California does allow people 12 and older to consent to Hep B and human papillomavirus (HPV) vaccines. Why can a child get any injection without their parents' permission? Why is that
And
a thing?
because these people are incredibly creepy. I don't know. I think I've ranted a little bit about Scott Wiener. If you're not familiar, then kudos to you for not knowing anything about this incredibly creepy guy. Um, he also proposed a bill that would lessen the punishments for adults involved with minors
Well, that's good.
to the point where, now go ahead and fact check me on this, but it's out there, to the point where if there were less than a 10-year difference, there would
Yes, I
be like
remember that.
there would be like less punishment. So if you're 19 and you're hooking up with a 10-year-old, that is not as egregious as if you were 20 or 21 and hooking up with a 10-year-old. So Scott Wiener is an awful man. He also proposed giving junkies or dope fiends or knocks. I don't know what the politically correct term for junkie is now, but he wanted to give gift cards to junkies to stay clean. And this is among a laundry list of terrible things. You can go to his Instagram. He's constantly in the park with drag queens and transgenders. I mean, just a full-throated, shall we say, endorsement of this crazy ideology, and it just doesn't stop. Because on one hand, this guy's like, oh yeah, trans youth, save the kids, but then on the other hand, I would venture to say he is all about the abortions. So it's just crazy. I mean, because in the same breath he will pretend that a man can get pregnant, and then at the end of the very same sentence talk about a woman's right to choose. And now I think it's pretty clear you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that the direction that this is going in. Now, you guys have already dealt with it, so you're used to it up in Canada, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see in on top of some of the things that Scott Wiener has already done. I think it's pretty obvious where he would like this situation to end up. That's just me.
Well, those presidential crack kits, which are they denied Jen Psaki before she left. She made sure to say that's a conspiracy theory, even though there's been tons of evidence that it's not. People getting these little pouches, they're just not afraid to lie about things as long as nobody, like none of the mainstream media, will actually hold their feet to the flame, as they say, so they can just say whatever they want. And like this guy, like it doesn't take much to realize what the point of it is. They say, like, sentence one: teens should be able to protect themselves against deadly viruses with or without parental approval. I mean, that's just a no. Like, no. Like, of course, you take the first half of the sentence: teens should be able to protect themselves from deadly viruses. Yes. With or without parental approval. No. And then the second part is, so many teens aren't getting vaccinated against COVID-19 and other deadly viruses, which of course he can't name at the moment, because they're victims of anti-vaccine misinformation. So he's blaming the parents, which of course, Eric, is communism 101. So he says, oh, we want to protect the kids. And then here's the truth: because they're not getting vaccinated, because their parents aren't getting them vaccinated. So we need to circumvent the parents like Mao did and send them to school with their Mao books. And it's because their parents are victims of anti-vax misinformation, and they're neglecting their kids or simply don't have time to get their kids vaccinated. Yeah, so when a parent is just like, oh, my kid might die tomorrow, I just don't have time to take them to the doctor or take them to the walk-in clinic or whatever it is in California, the CVS, or, the car wash where people are giving away vaccines. We shouldn't allow misinformation or parental neglect. What is your evidence of this? Nobody needs to present. That's the end of the article. Nobody needs to present any evidence. Have like 1,000 kids called, the police saying my parents won't let me get vaccinated. Have they asked parents about why, and then they told them, and they've 100% clarify that they have misinformation, like it's got mercury in it or something, which I don't even know if that's true. It's not. Biden won 89 million votes. But like their goal here is not save the children. That's sentence half of the first sentence. Then the rest of it is we don't trust parents. They're listening to misinformation. They don't care about their kids. They're neglecting them. So we need to circumvent them.
Yes.
And then the law says it's okay. But I don't think anybody's going to challenge that. But I would hope that there's something in the law that says you can't do that. But what they hide it under, which is what they did here, is they put it under like emergency care. So if you're above 12 or above, you don't need a parent's permission when the ambulance comes to save the kid's life. Don't give them CPR or what have you. So they put it under the same life-saving treatment. Therefore, if you're 12 years old and up, you don't need a parent's permission for that.
Yeah, and obviously we're not going to go through the list of all the things that a 12-year-old can't do without a parent's without parental permission. But of course, like you said, this is meant to drive a wedge between the kids and the parents. So, because they can bombard the kids and the parents for that matter, but they can bombard everybody with vax propaganda to the point where the kid's thinking, well, like they really want the child to think, well, my parents want me to die if I don't get this stupid shot. You know what I mean? It's so extreme. Like they're driving a wedge between the child and the parent to this extreme degree, so that that your kid belongs to the state. That's exactly what Scott Wiener wants. And this whole thing about misinformation, I mean, they're telling you, well, we, the state, the same guy who wants to pay meth heads to stay clean, we know better than you. We know better than your parents. It's absolutely, I mean, it's despicable. And if okay, wait, there's one last point I wanted to make about this, because Scott Wiener is so off the deep end that he's completely out of touch with reality. Scott Wiener and these Democratic politicians, especially in California, and we've seen this over and over again, they truly do not believe that anybody is capable of making a decision on their own. So they say, well, the parents have just been victims of misinformation. It's like, well, how do you know that? You don't think for 1 second that maybe a parent just doesn't want to do it because they looked into it themselves? Like I said a week or two ago, we never heard, hey, we think this is going to be good for you. You should look into it. It's free if you want to do it. It was just straight to the incentives, straight to the mandates. So because they're so used to doing this, because they're so used to manipulating people with propaganda and fake news, media, and all that stuff, they truly believe that any parent who says, I don't want my kid to do this, is being brainwashed by Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson. And there's no way that a 40 or 50-year-old parent of a 12-year-old had the wherewithal to make their own decision about the kids. It's just not possible. It must be brainwashing. It must be misinformation. And they only say that because they're so used to committing those acts. And that's where we get into the projection that every single thing that, and the right wing, they're just lazy. They don't really do much. But on the left, they literally project every single thing onto their enemy. Every single thing that they're doing. Well, you're just trying to manipulate kids with your Bible and your religion. Meanwhile, they have these kids with pronoun pins and pink hair and all sorts of stuff. So
it's not the same. Dude, it's the truth.
Exactly, and it's crazy because they're just so deep into their bubble that anybody who doesn't believe it just must have taken their information directly from the opposition. Like there's no chance, there's no middle ground, there's nobody sat there and thought about anything on their own. It's just 100% because of misinformation, so we need to censor it. And it's like, dude, we can all think for ourselves. Remember in 2000, you want to go back to 2002 when everybody didn't have a computer in their pocket. Their cell phone literally just made phone calls. It didn't even send text messages at that point. We all have this capability to actually think about stuff, but they just truly believe that everybody's too stupid, that they must be being manipulated by our sworn enemies, the evil racist Republicans, and it's just not true. There's a bunch of people who are like, this doesn't really make sense. I can talk to a couple of friends in San Francisco who are not political at all, and they're like, dude, this isn't really adding up anymore. And they're the furthest thing from a Republican. But to bring it full circle, this is what they do. They get too greedy. You had everybody in your pocket. Everybody was blindly obeying you, watching your propaganda, watching your award shows, watching your commercials. And then you just went overboard with all of this Rona stuff and all of these mandates. And now you're trying to groom the kids into, on top of the sexual stuff, you're trying to groom them into this weird medical this medical tyranny world that where, of course, I mean, if the commercial says that I should go get the shot but my parents don't want to, then that must make my parents evil. It's creepy, man. I don't know how we get out of it. I ask that every week too, and hopefully there's a way. We shall see.
Well, one of the things, and this is the horseshoe theory at play here, is you get some loony, like far left wing people like this Scott Wiener guy, and he acts as if, they've only got the access to information that's the correct information, and all these parents would have misinformation. So you've got all these leftists, right? Not even a word. Leftists who watch MSNBC or CNN or maybe the Young Turks or any number of wonderful programming, and they're just like, we've got the mainstream information. We're getting the information directly from the people that care about us, the scientists and everybody, and they believe a whole arc of a mainstream narrative from the administration down through doctors to Fauci and all these people in the CDC and the WHO and everybody. And I guess that's fine, which I guess it's not really. But then on the other side, you have people who I wouldn't call them far right, but I would call them further to the right than what I would agree with, because of the fact that while they don't trust any of these TV doctors and politicians and multinational crooked organizations, as they shouldn't. They do, though, go ahead and believe, Bill, who has like no microphone. His audio sounds like a tin can, and he says he's got a connection inside the military that tells him, there's graphene or whatever, and you can stick it to your arm, and the UN planes are dropping troops, and the Chinese troops are underground, and then these are all things we've heard. Chinese troops in Salt Spring Island in British Columbia, the Chinese troops underground, the Chinese troops at the mines in the north in the Arctic. The military was shooting stuff across the border. Justin Trudeau's been arrested. So is Biden. Justin Trudeau's got an ankle monitor. You've got people who think that they're the only ones with the access to the good information on the left, and then you have the people on the right who think they're the only people with the access to the hidden, information that they don't want you to see. Neither of these people have a special access to information, and it's being fed to them, but they really think that they're the right ones, and I've got it right, and everybody else is just crazy. And of course, at the end of the day, I would side with the conspiracy theorists, because they end up being right way more often than a person who just sits there and has like a Demolition Man thing hooked up to their head for the information being fed to them. But I do see emails and get messages from people where it's like they think they're the only ones who can operate the internet, and it's like, bro, I've grew up with the internet since the beginning of time. I'm way more confident in my interneting abilities plus my news politics acumen than you sending me a link to this guy who's literally just reading off a page, and I'm supposed to you need to report on this. How come you're not reporting on this? It's because there's no special access to information. And when people present you this stuff, they think, they've got it all figured out, and maybe they do. Maybe I'm the idiot here for not listening to you. But I see this horseshoe theory that people say, "Oh, my horseshoe theory." But when you get people coming to these same conclusions that like only I know what's going on here, I can't help but think about that, because I hate to blame the boomer mentality, but you are being fed things, and you need, just like you don't believe the mainstream media portion of it, you don't need to believe the underground media portion of it, because neither of them actually care. The one is like a guy who gets off on how many likes he's got, and the other one gets off who is who gets off on how many votes they get to stay into office. So it's basically two sides of the same coin, Eric. How else can I say? Edges of the same sword.
Well, the horseshoe theory kind of reminds me of this clip I saw recently. I should have sent it to you of what's her name, the white fragility lady. Not D'Angelo Russell as a basketball player, but
Yes, he is.
I forget her name, but she wrote the White Fragility book, and she's on MSNBC. It's just, I guess, a different form of the horseshoe theory, but she's literally on there. And maybe we can put the clip in the description or something post production. But she says, I know, I knew growing up that it was better to be white. I knew that it was easier and better to be white. We all know that. And it's like, lady, calm down. You're so, it reminds me of this episode of Broad City, which is an awful show. But there's one where one of the girls says to the other girl, sometimes you're so not racist that you're racist all over again. And that's what this reminds me of. It goes full, not, I guess not full circle because they don't really agree, but they're so far out of the realm of outside of the mainstream. And when I say mainstream, like just reality, like the things that no matter how much, you see Calvin Klein out there trying to push this pregnant man thing and all the emojis,
Mhm.
no matter how hard you force this, there is still a reality. And these two groups get so far outside of it that they meet each other on the edges where they agree on something but almost disagree on why that one thing might be true. I don't know. It's tough to
Well,
tough
Eric,
to explain.
I see a good example in the chat here, and I'll bring it up. It says, what speaker, which I'm guessing means me, is that it's all planned out and there's no way out, which out is capitalized. Maybe that's a movie. What's No Way Out? Wrestling or something.
That's Diddy's first album.
All right, that's great. Unless going off the grid, sadly, between Agenda 2030 and what is happening, no chance of them backing down, eh? See, here's the thing, Fred Fury. No offense to you, but like, do you think I don't know what Agenda 2030 is? Do you think I don't know? Like, you think I don't read about these things? I do. Like, I have access to the internet. I know about Agenda 2030. I've probably read more about the World Economic Forum than you do. I sit across at my desk at work with a guy who reads the Great Reset front to back. Okay, like I do have access to this information, and just because I'm not saying Agenda 2030 and all this stuff and depopulation agenda and all this stuff, Georgia Guidestones, doesn't mean I don't know about it. So, like, do I have to tell you I'm brilliant, Eric Butler of TatumReport.com? I don't want to say that. I'm not brilliant. It's just that, like, I do have access to all this stuff. And, like, whenever you don't say exactly what somebody's thinking or exactly what they believe, they say, well, this is exactly what it is. It's Agenda 2030. And, you can read all about it in Klaus Schwab's plan. Remember the old thing about, the Illuminati it into your face? And Alex Jones used to say that a lot, too. They're shoving it in your face. They don't care. And what's the term they use on like the 4s and the 8s of the chants? Symbolism will be their downfall, I think it is.
Yes.
So yeah. And if we want to transition this so lovely to Queen Romana, Eric, who I know you're a big fan of.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you mentioned her a long time ago. I didn't really understand it, and then I saw a Vice News report on it, and it just triggered me because, yeah, Vice News is just, I mean, they have completely lost the plot. Remember, just really quick before we get into this, when I saw Vice post about this, I just thought to myself, like, do you remember when Vice was supposed to be like edgy, anti-establishment, like
Tim Pool worked for them. Gavin McInnes started it.
Yeah, Gavin McInnes was, and what's the guy's name? I think Shane Smith. But they were supposed to be super edgy and all about like down with the man. But then something happened. I don't know if it was when Shane left, and I mean obviously Shane, Gavin, and Tim are no longer there. But it's like they went from this completely fringe sort of crude production to literally just being the like mouthpiece for millennial establishments. Like the anybody who, I mean, they wrote an article recently or published an article recently about how Germans who were against vaccine mandates were fleeing just like the Nazis did. I mean, it was just like every single thing they do now is establishment shilling, and it's just really sad. But we got off track there. Sorry. We'll go back to the Queen.
The Queen, quick recap, is a woman who said last year, I believe, that she's the new Queen and Prime Minister of the country of Canada. That she's connected to special forces. She's made so many outrageous claims. She said the Pope and all the cardinals were dead. She said Obama's been dead for years. She said that she could supply people who needed more ranch supplies, as in like ranchers. They need more hay and stuff like that. She's been visited by the feds, and they did nothing. So either she's insane but has committed no crimes, even though I think she probably has when she asked people to join her military and start a military. I don't think you should be able to form a military with the goal of saying that you've overthrown the government or you're the new government, but I digress. And so either she's completely insane, hasn't broken any laws, or she works with the feds. She went to the trucker protest, and her people, they lined up with like what's the things that like you would see people using to bring like a queen or a king in, like, you know how they have the stick with the parchment on it almost thing, like a pen, not a pennant, but it'd be on. It was, so they had all these people standing with poles with big
and the like fabric hanging over it.
Yeah, exactly. Or the fabric, if you're looking at it from the side, it would come out like this, and it would say "Hear ye" or "Hear ye" or whatever. So they're standing in a line, representing him, the Right Honorable Queen Romana. She walks through. So already you've got like 12 either feds or full-blown lunatics that would, go off with L. Ron Hubbard if they could. Walks through the middle. Then they burn the Canadian flag, which is never a good look, which makes it look like it's a psyop to make the protest look bad. And amongst all that, she told people in full Wesley Snipes fashion, when he was told he didn't have to pay taxes, she told people that utilities were free and they no longer had to pay for electricity. Now, Yahoo News sucks, the big one, but this is just for comedy, so it doesn't make a difference. Romana Tadillo rose to popularity. Yeah, she's got over 70,000 on Telegram, which is insane.
That's a lot for Telegram, bro.
And you were just like, LOL, they're calling her QAnon. And of course, normally when people call somebody QAnon, this is like 2 years old. Nobody cares about that anymore. But she does end all of her messages, all of her posts with like WW1, whatever, where we go all, and then frogs and stuff. So she does present herself as full-blown QAnon, unfortunately.
But that's how untrustworthy the media has become, right? It's because,
yeah, I know, right?
We don't even we're at the point where we take everything as like, well, I mean, whether it's the framing that they put in, like, they'll just the way I mean, you got to take everything that the media says with like every single thing. You have to assume that it's either being manipulative or just a flat out lie, and they're never going to just shoot it straight. So this
Decree
woman, and I'm
24,
thinking,
Eric.
wait, what is that? What is it? Is
Decree
that one of her?
24 states that electricity has become free. I have decreed. Like, she literally is treating it like a medieval ruler. And Decree 23 said water bills were now illegal. Like, so you basically just got to work for free if you work for sanitation now. And Decree 79 claimed that rent prices had reverted specifically back to rates from 1955. Now, I don't know if that's exactly true. I'd have to get my Queen Romana expert, who I'm friends with. It's actually my roommate. He doesn't like follow it, but like he has access to her Telegram. I've been banned from there for asking too many questions.
You got banned from her Telegram. Wow, good job.
Because I wanted to, when they were doing this thing where they said they were sending shipments to ranches, I asked how, and then I guess my questions were probably too mockingly. Like, I was mockingly asking them too much, which I'm known to do. And they were saying, like, don't say that kind of stuff. And I was like, is this how the Queen treats her loyal subjects? And that's when I got banned. The royal decree, she stopped paying hydro, natural gas, property taxes, line of credit. So I don't understand. Was there a decree where they said you don't have to pay your property taxes or line of credit? Because that, like, many others have also posted about no longer paying their bills, including many who are elderly and rely on fixed incomes. Now have the utilities shut down and are collecting. See, I don't know. See, like, I don't know if that's a crime to just be like, don't pay your bills. So, like, can
Uh,
you arrest her for that?
I mean, look, I'm no legal expert, but it doesn't really sound like a crime. You have to, like, come on, guys. You have to think about these things for yourself before you just start believing a random woman who says she's the queen. But these
No, you gotta
decrees,
believe her.
don't they sound like don't they sound like an Office episode, like when Michael
Yes.
declares bankruptcy? Like he's just like, I declare, like that's what this is like. And just really quick, sorry, another side note.
Mhm.
Are you guys doing the baby formula thing? That's our thing now. Is
No,
we're
that's
all
your
worried about.
thing. My friends and I were just looking up, as we do while we watch UFC and sports, looking up inflation prices. And US's inflation is a bit higher than ours here. Our gas just went over $2 per liter. It's hard to calculate the liters and gallon stuff, but it's gone up like 70 cents in the last couple months. Things are going overboard, but they're not quite as bad as the United States. Supply, like our meat prices are up, and like some things, like it's harder to get good meat and stuff, but other than that, there's no shortage that I'm aware of for anything else really. And so you guys
There
have
is a
higher
chicken wing
inflation.
shortage. There's a chicken wing shortage that is
Sound the alarms.
yeah. No, I mean, look, whatever, like, we're gonna pay more for gas and like like that hits home, right? Like the chicken wings, come on, bro. Like, come on,
Speaking
man.
of
Like
chicken, Eric Butler, while we're on this tangent here, Chipotle, what are you doing? Chipotle, this thing from America comes here. It is the worst thing I've ever had. And I love Taco Bell. That's how bad Chipotle is. They slop it in there like it came from like an oil barrel. It gets slopped in with a shovel, I think. They deliver it to you wrapped in tinfoil, like you're in the third world or you're at the back of like a
well,
construction truck. And it's like, it's so small. There's no care. You get a bowl. It's just like, here's your fistful of lettuce with a pile of sour cream on it. Oh, did you want your cheese melted? Best we can do is lukewarm. Oh, did you did you want actual chicken in there? I can give you one piece of chewed up chicken from like a cat or something. That's the best I can do. Chipotle is handled like the people in the back are just like, I don't care about anybody who eats this at all. You're gonna take what you can get, or else don't order from us. It's the worst. And you're talking about chicken wings. I got Chipotle problems.
well, okay, I will agree with all that. Now let's not knock the tin foil, the aluminum foil that they put in. That's classic. That's like for a good burrito. Like if you go to San
But
Francisco,
the
that is the one
tacos are
thing.
so small, and it's
Yeah,
wrapped
it's
in
like a
this
little
tiny thing
ball
of yeah,
because
it's
because Chipotle
depressing.
is trash. Chipotle is
Okay.
trash. I don't want to get into bad mouthing burritos properly wrapped in foil. That's a good thing.
Well, my problem with burritos is there's too much rice. It's used as a filler. I'm not from the third world. I don't need rice. So that's why I'm a taco guy. I'm a wrap guy. Pita guy. But again, I digress, Eric. One like this is sad. I just had my water supply shut off in Stratford, Ontario. Stratford, small town, farm town. They have theaters for some reason, like plays and stuff. In response, Dedulo told her believers that the bills were being sent by robots, which technically true if they're by email. And several of her followers began rallying to send emails to utility companies that they're committing criminal offenses against we the people. And this reminds me, um, that people actually went to police stations and said, I'm serving you a cease and desist letter from the Queen of the country of Canada. And they were just like, what?
I don't like this here. Extremist researcher, like really?
Oh, obviously this person can't be trusted. We'll go ahead and look her up. Christine Sorecki. Let's go ahead and search that web and that Bing. Why Bing, Eric? Because this browser only lets me select from Bing, DuckDuckGo, and Google and stuff. I use Brave browser. She's a PhD at Chatham University somewhere. She's possibly Canada still. Mass and serial murder, homicidal ideation, extremism, mental health courts, schizophrenia, mental illness, Smack delusions. So she's a serial killer. Isn't that of course, I'm just kidding, Christine.
Yeah,
But
there's
isn't that
no
what
way.
every movie is like? The person who studies serial killers turns out to be a copycat killer.
Oh, look, I don't know about that, but just extremist researchers. So you went and got somebody like this is another example of the media going out there and finding somebody who already agrees with them to
Of course.
come up with their. I mean, it's like, dude, we're not all that stupid. They really truly think that everybody's opinion is. I mean, we just cannot escape the matrix of the mainstream media. It's like, dude, it's clear that it's happening. That's why you guys are so desperate for control. That's why you guys are doing your ministry of truth. That's why everything gets censored on YouTube, and Rumble is now is coming out, is swinging as a competitor. Netflix is losing subscribers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, to the point like they should at least know by now that we I know it's hard for them to just imagine somebody forming an original thought without the television, but it does happen, and it's sad to watch these people continue to just like assume that because they know their base, right? They know, like, we've done it. We watched our base be morphed into these weirdo extremists based on the lies that we've told them. So it must be happening on the other side. There's no in between, and it just drives me up a wall, bro. It's crazy.
Well, they always use this one girl professor from a college around here called Durham College, and they always look to her for their critical race theory stuff. Old white lady believes everyone is racist. What a new and unfounded story arc there. But they always go to the same people, and that's why I love when they say experts say, or that Blog TO, who had the big spat with Dave Portnoy, always goes to just random people's tweets to form their stories. Like, that's the lowest form of journalism. You can't find anybody of note who agrees with you with this article, so you just go with replies from strangers.
Yeah. A random tweet with like one like and one retweet, like just a random Twitter account. Like, it's like, oh, well, this one fits the narrative. We'll go with that. It's crazy.
UnauthorizedOpinions.com or UOPod.com. You can find us. And please subscribe. We're on Spotify and every other streaming platform there is. Eric Butler of TatumReport.com. I'm on RebelNews.com. I have a great debate between Hunter Avallone and John Doyle out today. Hunter Avallone, just, he's just reading studies off his screen, and he's like, I've got all the knowledge. It's kind of sad. It's like dealing with like a 16-year-old. Really,
is Hunter Avallone did he like do the kind of like the reverse switch, like he was like more right wing, and now he's like a lefty guy?
Now he just retweets everyone who's like, what a piece of shit, what a redneck, what a hillbilly. One of his good ones was a video of somebody saying how there's like tampons in boys' bathrooms now, and he's like, if you think there's something wrong with this, and you must be inbred, and like he's not kidding. And then so on the show, and I'd still love him to come back. I commend him for coming on, of course. And then I'd still like him to come back for a longer debate with John. But he just sits there and he's reading off a screen, and he can't come up with anything like with his own thoughts. And he's just like, he uses in his one video that we referenced, he uses a statement from the American Immigration Council. And he uses their statement as evidence of why diversity in the military is good. It's like, oh, I wonder what their opinion is going to be. He reads these studies, and he doesn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, you could Google anything that agrees to find anything that agrees with you.
It's like a Pfizer CEO says that a fourth booster is going to be the most effective. Well, yeah, of course.
And that's why you should take it.
Eric, wait, but
what were you going to say? Go ahead.
Well, I'm just genuinely curious if you get him on. I mean, what happened in his life? Because I remember watching Hunter Avallone videos like years ago, and they seemed pretty, maybe based isn't the word, but they seemed pretty level-headed. Like, what happened to this guy that he ends up moving left? And like, I mean, that's a very rare. Like, I just don't see how that could have happened unless it's just a money play.
I remember him from back then, and like I follow too many people who do streeters of finding dumb people already, so checked out a couple of videos, never thought of it again. I think he just went the way where he just thinks, like, he focused on, and I could be wrong, he could maybe explain it better or more accurately. I think he just saw that, like, there's, like, again with Elon, when he goes to a Trump rally and there's a bunch of Trump supporters that don't know anything they're talking about, and they're just like, yeah, America. I think he took that as like the way a leftist takes what CNN shows you about a Trump rally. He is now taking on that position. But it's weird, even after seeing like that's how the left looks when they're presented in a certain type of way. And then he sort of just flipped over. I don't know the exact reason, but it seems to be that he just thinks like the right is actually dumb. He could just be grifting. I don't know. He does have a very, like I said, like a very childlike. I'm reading this off the screen. This is from a study. This is from experts. You're disagreeing with experts. I have facts and evidence. You don't. Therefore, I'm right. And like he wanted me to come on his Discord and stuff. And it's like, I know this is just going to be a bunch of people who agree with you, so I'm not going to do that. But when you have somebody reading off a screen and saying this study about diversity that was people doing a murder mystery, and the study comes out and it says the people with more diverse groups were able to solve the mystery faster, and I say, what information did the diverse groups have that the other groups didn't? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, you haven't read it. You just read like the abstract or the summary. He's like, no, I read the whole thing. What are you talking about? He's trying to tell me to shut up on my own show. Like, he's very internet-y tough guy. And it's just like, you're dealing with a person, and we've talked about another person who I feel this way about. He never really evolved from 2016. So like a Lawrence Southern almost thing. Like, I'm reading these facts and you can't disagree with them because I have a study in front of me that supports this. Therefore, you're wrong. Like that sort of thing. Like if you can't argue with your own logic and reasoning, and you don't understand that what you're looking up is biased and comes from biased sources, or was what's what I'm looking for, when you commission a study to find certain reasons, it's like, well, the Al Gore documentary said this, so how can you disagree with that? That's concrete evidence. You know what I mean?
Al Gore, and I think that movie, Inconvenient Truth, also like won a whole bunch of stupid Hollywood awards,
and nothing came true.
Yeah, none of it came
currently
true.
underwater.
Yeah, well, Obama's house is going to be underwater, right?
That's
Martha's
true.
Vineyard.
He won't do anything about it. Nobody will do anything about the rising tide. They'll just let their houses be enveloped. They won't put up a levy, I think they say. Eric, I found this video of a guy getting in a fight with a fan at a wrestling event that I thought was interesting before we go. Come on now. Every time,
every time, dude.
Every time I have a clip that's not news related.
You gotta like refresh your. I don't know, dude.
If we do it in this motion again, we'll work. Yeah, okay. Oh! A guy who his first move is a headbutt, you know he's a dirty fighter.
Oh, Joe's about to beat it up!
The guy's name is Joe Black, the wrestler.
Bring that shit up, bro!
Just throwing hats.
Throw his ass out!
UnAuthorizedOpinions.com, UOPod.com. Follow us on Instagram at Report and Opine. And Andrew does. Follow my show channel, Andrew Says. See you guys next week.
Turn it up, Jordan.